At first glance, Private Detective Manuel Gomez comes across as a modern-day James Bond. Gomez uses a pen that doubles as a recorder, self-defense weapon, and DNA collector. His reading glasses double as his video recorder. Gomez says he's different from other PIs because he only works to exonerate innocent people caught up in gang-related activity.
If you hire me, you have to be prepared for the truth. Because if I find out he's guilty, I'm gonna know. And if he's innocent, I'm gonna know.
One of Gomez's goals is to bring down the notorious Trinitario gang. The Trinitarios are a Dominican-based gang which have an extremely large presence in the Bronx. In the borough, the gang is divided into two subsections known as the Southies and the Sunset Trinitarios. Both sections of the gang are at war with each other, and both are extremely violent. Gomez says that machetes are their weapon of choice.
Their motto is, give me a knife because it never runs out of bullets. A gun you could shoot 6, 7 times and it's no good, but a knife you can stab all day long.
Gomez says it's in parks like these that the Trinitario gang members hang out, meet, and target their enemies. He says it's not just kids going after other kids. Gomez says he himself has been targeted by some of the gang's leaders. Manuel Gomez was the person who released the eyewitness video of Guzman Feliz's murder to the media. The video went viral, garnering millions of views online and sparking the Justice for Junior hashtag. Gomez says he wanted the video to prompt a sense of urgency in the NYPD and the Bronx DA's office to investigate the Trinitarios.
We need to eliminate them off the street. And it's not about just people, calling 911. People need to be involved. We need to really write down what we see and make it safer. If they realize that they have nowhere to hide, the gang will disband.
Gomez says he will continue to go after the gang until the community is safer. He says as long as they commit crimes, he will be right there trying to stop them. For BronxNet, Julia Rist.
Welcome again to the Radical Imagination. I'm your host, Jim Vrettos. I'm a sociologist who's taught at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and Yeshiva University here in New York. It's impossible to go through life and not judge or categorize others or oneself. It's one of the ways we use to understand ourselves as humans and who we are as individuals. Whether you're judging others or being judged, the interaction involves an opinion or decision based on thoughts, feelings, and evidence. Judging only becomes a problem of social injustice when we make unnecessary, hurtful, or unfair judgments that have unjust consequences to people's human rights and their sense of quality. As anyone who's ever been in a courtroom knows, judges can wield enormous power and control over a person's life and every facet of their social existence. They can and often do use their authority to threaten, shame, disrespect, and humiliate those they find before them awaiting their judgment. With judges given so much power over the lives of others and the power relations structured so disproportionately, we should expect and need a system with safeguards. We need to make sure that those meting out justice are not ethically conflicted, make their decisions fairly and impartially, and base them on the ethical use of evidence without bias in an open courtroom setting. In other words, we need ways of assuring that those subjected to their decisions have not been victims of judicial misconduct. Today on the Radical Imagination, our good friend Manny Gomez is on the show. He's working with the legendary whistleblowing NYPD detective Frank Serpico. They've co-authored the Department of Civilian Justice Bill, which would empower everyday New Yorkers, helping them hold our entire criminal justice system accountable, transparent, and fair. That includes the New York City Police Department, the New York DA's office, the fire department, and the Department of Corrections, the whole kit and caboodle. He's the founder of Black Ops Private Investigators and is prominently portrayed in the award-winning 2018 documentary Crime Plus Punishment, a film which exposed the illegal quota system that still operates among many NYPD officers who still get their marching orders from the top police and political brass of the city. He's a tireless crusader and activist who's also on a mission to end what many consider to be widespread and pervasive judicial misconduct among many of our judges here in New York. Manny, it's so great as always to have you on the Radical Imagination.
Good to be here, Jim. Thank you.
It's just a pleasure to see you, and
Glad to see you're safe.
We're safe and sound, and you're the one that's going to court and dealing with these cases and these judges and these DAs, and we wanted very much to have you on to have you explain some of the cases you're involved with. You send them to me. I've gone through them. It's just mind-boggling what is going on in court. And so why don't you give us a little bit of a background? You want to do the Judge Holder case. First of all, this is a Queens judge. And give us some background on all of this, how you get involved and why you've become so adamant in the need to call these people out.
Well, you know what it is that as being a private investigator, I specialize in a lot of murder cases and criminal cases and also false arrests. And I've built a reputation on freeing people. I've won over 119 cases, and now I just had my first acquittal. So in total, 120 cases in the past 8 years that I've proved people innocent. And I only take cases of innocent people. During this experience, I learned that throughout the state in all these cases, from Albany, from Buffalo, Syracuse, from Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Rochester, Suffolk, Nassau County, White Plains, I've been all over the state in many cases, and I found that there's this judicial misconduct occurring where judges are getting away with falsifying evidence. They're getting away with saying that evidence is proper when it isn't. They're getting away with favoring the prosecutor and being biased. And then what I more disturbingly learned is that nobody knows how to fight against a crooked judge.
Let's go back to how do they get away with this? How can they just so blatantly get away with this? Are there no safeguards in the system itself?
Well, there is a safeguard in the sense of you can report the corruption. But regarding a safeguard going into oversight and accountability over judges, there almost is none. I mean, they are literally untouchable, them and the DAs. This is what I've been fighting against. The district attorneys and the judges have been getting away with murder and locking up innocent people. In my experience now in the past 9 years, I would dare guess that more than 30% of the people in jail right now are innocent. Really? And this is what I've been uncovering, that a lot of these judges' cases are being overturned by the appellate court, all right, for the judges acting improper and literally breaking the law and creating their own type of law. But the problem I have is that we have so many judges in New York having their cases overturned and nothing's happening to them.
Because, Manny, can we, to take something to the appellate court is also expensive, correct? So a lot of people aren't able to do that.
That's true. They don't have the money. And then the ones that do it, they get these pro bono attorneys. And, you know, some of them are good and some of them are 50-50. So that's the problem. You get people sometimes who don't care. So you have the poor and the financially indigent unable to defend themselves and unable to know about this thing called the New York State Commission of Judicial Misconduct. And this is the way how you report on a judge being corrupt. But before I get to that part, I want to get into the part of Vijaya Neal, which was a case that I just recently won about 7 months ago, back in July. I ran into a judge named Judge Kenneth Holder, and
this is in Queens, right?
Queens criminal court judge, and then he was also a former Queens prosecutor. So as I was going through the case, before I took on the case, I realized that they did a lineup. And now this is what drew my attention to all this judicial misconduct. When they did a lineup in this case and they put 6 people in a lineup. And then they had my client, Ajayanio, as number 5. Now, the first guy comes in, the first witness, and says, number 1, which is not a giant. So they walk the witness out and they say, have a great day. Take your time. They bring in a second witness. Second witness goes, number 6. Now, Ajay is number 5.
Right.
Now, instead of them walking him out and releasing Ajaya, because he wasn't the person, they grabbed the second witness by the arm, the police officers in the 113th precinct, Detective Jessica Romance, and they walk him up to the window and say, look again. Did you see? So now the witness stares at the prosecutor who's watching this, the defense attorney that's watching this, and stares at the detectives like, what's going on? For about 30 seconds of an uncomfortable stare. Then turns around and goes, oh, number 5. Now that is a tampered with lineup. And that occurs almost every week throughout our city. That's illegal. A person is only allowed to pick one time, not twice in the same lineup. And this is what happened in this case. So when I saw this,
Manny, so give us the understanding that you have concerning why the police officer did what they did.
Say again?
Why do you think? Why are they doing this sort of stuff? Just to clear.
Oh, sure. It's very simple. I've had with this precinct now 4 cases where they did the same thing, and I won all 4 cases with the 113th. And this happens throughout the entire New York City. I've actually won in total in New York City 87 cases like this that they tamper with the lineups.
Wow.
So what happened is they'll try to just solve a crime quickly, and they make you pick someone out. Okay, and then they get promoted, the detectives, from 3rd grade to 2nd grade. So like a 3rd grade detective only makes $5,000 more than a New York City cop. A 2nd grade detective makes the same $115,000 a year, which is a sergeant's pay. A 1st grade detective makes a lieutenant's pay, which is about $125,000 a year. So every detective's goal is to get there. The only way you're going to get there is through your evaluations and showing that you're knocking out these homicides, you're solving the cases, being a superstar. The problem is the guys are doing it to the extent where they're falsifying cases and people are overturned. That's what you saw in that movie, Now You See Us, with the Central Park jogger, the 5 kids that were sent to jail for 20 years. And they were also, their lineups were falsified as well. So again, what I found out is that the Judge Kenneth Holder, turned around and said that the lineups were good, which clearly violated New York state law. All right.
When do you get involved in the case? There were a couple of private investigators before you. Is that it?
Yeah, actually, there were 2 other private investigators before me. That this mother, she's a Black minister, a Black Baptist minister mother, who is was very poor, and she hired 2 other investigators. They more or less stole her money. They didn't give her a report or anything. When they came to me, they saw me solving the Pedro Hernandez case. And when they saw me solving that, they said, they needed my help. So I turned around and, I looked into the case and I says, oh my God, I think her son is innocent. So as I kept looking into the case further and further, I kept uncovering the fact that the judge kept looking the other way on every piece of evidence that exonerated Ajayanil. And I couldn't understand why.
How did you build up the case and firmly decide he was innocent?
Well, one of the things I did was I went through all the court documents and I started seeing that the lineups were tampered with. That was before I did anything for going in the street. Then when I saw those were my first red flags showing that this kid was innocent. And then I went on social media to see this shooting in Roy Wilkerson Park that happened in 2010. If they were, May 2014, all right, May 10, 2014, if anybody posted anything on social media. So I put shot in Roy Wilkerson Park, nothing came up. Murder in Roy Wilkerson Park, nothing came up. Then I figured, well, let me use one of the street lingos. I put got clapped in Roy Wilkerson Park, which is a street term meaning got killed, okay?
Yeah.
When I did that on Facebook, Jim, I had about 70 hits come up of people stating that they were in the park and couldn't believe it, and they were in awe. Now, the thing I found fascinating is that all their emails and text messages were 1 minute and 2 minutes after the murder.
Really? Yeah.
And so now I knew these people were the what? They were the direct eyewitnesses. Now, the
And
mother...
They didn't see
the detectives never found any of them. They never did work.
They didn't go ahead and find them or interview them, right? Okay.
No, none of them. So what they did was they tried to force two people to lie. And I uncovered that in this case. So the more I tried to show the judge all the corruption that was going on, he kept looking the other way. Judge Holder kept avoiding all the evidence that proved him innocent and stopping it from coming into court. As a matter of fact, he actually got mad because I called the prosecutor corrupt. I said I had evidence proving, and I asked him to review it. Instead of reviewing the evidence, the judge took all my evidence and handed it to the prosecutor.
So from the judge's point, I mean, they're basically trying to just clear the docket too, just make it nice and simple and move on. So
you see, that's the problem. You just said it right. They're trying to clear the docket and make it nice and simple, move on. Our system right now, 95% of the people take a plea deal. And do you know why? Because they're scared to fight because of the system. So we have innocent people pleading guilty to things that they're innocent on just so they could, not get 30 years in jail. And because they're being threatened and intimidated by the prosecutors and the judge, scaring them. The judge is actually working with the prosecutors. Hey, if you don't take this deal, you might get 30 years. But this guy's innocent. And they did that to my client.
Right.
He was looking at 35 years to life. And the more I kept proving him innocent, they kept offering him deals. Do you know, it got so corrupt in the case that at one point, the prosecutor said, if you speak against your private investigator, we'll give you 3 years for first-degree murder.
Wow. So they're out to get you because you are obviously trying to stop this system of justice from continuing.
Yeah, and the thing is that I've never lost a case in Queens or anywhere. All the cases I've had, knock on wood, I've been very blessed. God has brought me people that were innocent, and that's my motto. I only take cases of innocent people. But I've had cases where I found where the person is guilty, and I show the family the guilt, and I walk away from the case. That's actually in my contract. I'm the only private investigator in New York State that has that in its contract. And the fact of this is that the more I looked into this case and the more I looked into the corruption, I started looking into the judge. And I says, wait a minute, why is this judge so in favor of the prosecutor? And then I realized he was a former Queens prosecutor. Then I found out that he had 24 of his cases overturned or altered by the appellate court for the same type of judicial misconduct he committed in the Judicial case. So then I said to myself,
so let's just really let that sink in. How long has this guy been a judge?
10 years.
10 years. And
30 of his cases overturned.
Overturned. And still nothing. He's not reprimanded or anything. He just goes on with his business and he collects his salary, and that's that. So you come along and are blowing the whistle. You get the media. You get Sarah Wallace involved in this.
Yeah, I got NBC involved in it. I got the New York Times involved in it. The problem is that, nobody is holding them accountable. And so I realized how corrupt he was and that it wasn't one case. I said, wait a minute, this judge is doing it on multiple cases. All right. And then I found out that the ADA that was working with him, ADA Karen Ross, who was prosecuting the case, she has been now transferred and not working criminal cases due to her unethical behavior as well. But see, here's the problem. So many cases, hundreds of cases have been brought before her and this judge, and nobody does nothing to them for false cases.
I mean, we want to make this clear too. This is just not, it's maybe the tip of the iceberg, but this is how pervasive is this sort of?
Well, this is not just Queens. This is happening in the Bronx. It's happening in Manhattan. This is happening with other judges as well. This is happening with prosecutors. I mean, I have a very famous prosecutor in the Bronx now. Her name is ADA Christine Scatia. She was demoted Let me say that again. She was demoted by Robert Johnson, the former prosecutor, for acts of corruption in another case. Do you know when a new district attorney came in, ADA, District Attorney Clark, Marcel Clark, we promoted her. Now, this woman is infamous. She's like the Wicked Witch of the Bronx. She is known for lying and falsifying cases to win. She will do anything to win. And I've beat her at every case I've had. And she's like, my nemesis, because she's out there putting all these innocent people. I just had a case last night, and this is fresh. It literally just happened. I have a guy named Matthew Rivera, who he was accused of attempted murder of being with a group of guys that kicked in a door of an apartment and stabbed a guy in his bed 11 times. Now, this guy, Matthew Rivera, was, when this incident happened of the stabbing, okay, you're not gonna believe this. The guys were caught on film breaking into the apartment at 12:18 in the afternoon. It's on film, crystal clear, you can see them. Except they had the surgical masks that everybody's wearing now for the pandemic. And, but you could see their coats, you could see some features of them. So you see them crystal clear. Now, at that time, at 12:18, my client was shopping in the supermarket, buying groceries for his mother. And he was FaceTiming her. How can you be FaceTiming and then kicking in someone's door? You can't, it's impossible. And so now I went after, this happened yesterday. He was just gave a bail for $250,000 at 2:00 in the afternoon in Bronx Criminal Court. This happened yesterday. By 10:30 at night, yesterday evening, I found the witness. I found who the stabber was, and I found his pictures with him wearing the same clothes he had on the day of the video of the incident. She identified the correct person and told me the cops told her to pick Mr. Rivera. Because I asked her, why did you pick him?
Right.
So now we're putting an emergency hearing for Monday to get him out of jail.
And that's similar to what happened with the Neal case, right?
Exactly right. And again, it's the lineups, it's the photo arrays. That happened in the Angel Javier case, one of my first murder cases ever. They told the people who to pick. It keeps happening on like 75% of my cases, and nothing's happening to the cops. Even in that famous movie we just had right now, it's called Now You See Us. And the 5 kids from Central Park, they were in jail for 20 years. The cop and the district attorney falsified the case, told other people to pick them and say that they did the rape, when in actuality, it was just one person. Those kids weren't there. And this is the problem.
And nothing has happened to those cops, correct?
Well, what happened was the city, everybody in the city paid $40 million to those 5 kids. And the district attorney still keeps her pension. The cop is still retired, and nothing happens to them. How can we have a system that lets this type of crimes of judges and prosecutors go without accountability? It's appalling. It's unconscionable to think that that's not the Constitution that I swore an oath to defend. And that's why today, I'm glad you brought me on the show, because I want to show that document, and I want to teach people how to file a complaint against a judge. New York, they don't want you to know how to do this, but you can do it, and you can file a complaint.
New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
That's correct.
That's the first one we want to talk about. It's a 2-page form, and you can call the New York City office, which is 646-386-4800.
And again, you can say that number again. I really want everybody to take down this number.
Yeah. This again is the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. It's a complaint form. It's a simple 2-page form here. You can get it at 61 Broadway, Suite 1200. And the phone number to call is 646-386-4800. Again, 646-386-4800. And again, there's the complaint. You need to just provide background information, the complaint information, the judge's name, judge's court, and some details of the complaint.
Yeah, and see, but the thing is, if you file this complaint, the courts will look at it, and if the judge was wrong or violated your rights or falsified the case or seems like he was in favor with the prosecutor and he was biased, they will punish the judge. They can even remove the judge, and they will fine the judge. And there's certain rules and regulations that nobody knows about that, judges are accountable for. And that's why I need.
This is important. This is very important, right? So this is something that can be done, which can produce results. This is just not something you're gonna throw away here.
But here's the thing: I put in a request to find out how many people filed a complaint against a judge in 15 years. Regular people. I found out the number was 0. Nobody does it because nobody knows.
So 15 years, nobody has filed a complaint to the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. Nobody.
For judges, that's what I was told by the office. And I said to him, so what do we have this office for? What's going on?
So you got people sitting around waiting for these complaints come in, and they're not coming in. And again, as you pointed out, people don't feel that anything's going to happen. They're cowed into they don't know about this.
And that's the problem. That's why they get away with it. This is why these judges, I call them the Untouchables, because the bottom line is nobody is complaining, nobody's showing. And this is what I want people to know. You can, if you file these complaints, we'll stop the misconduct. We'll let the judges know, hey, you're not above the law. Hey, you are accountable for your actions. All right. Judges have to adhere to the same law that we have. They're not above it, everybody. You need to file your complaints, and not only against the judge, but also against the prosecutors, because there's so many of them. You gotta understand something. The reason why our prosecutors will lie and cheat and falsify cases is for one reason, because they are promoted on the amount of convictions they get. So we're rewarding them. Our system is rewarding the prosecutors for the amount of convictions, not for the amount of their performance of saying, hey, I had 100 cases, 60 people were innocent. Right. What they say is, well, why didn't you get the 60 people to take a plea deal? Why didn't you get them to take something? So they want to look like every case is guilty, when you and I both know that's not true. There are times where there's innocent people. There's times there's bad people as well. But the majority is I get so many of these cases where I'm getting people spending 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, 20 years, 30 years. I just got a guy out the other day, 8 months ago, who spent 23 years in jail that the federal prosecutor falsified the case with the FBI. Nobody did nothing to them. Nothing. And it's still working.
Yeah. Now, in the grievance complaint that you filed against Judge Holder, which is about a week ago, right?
Yes.
May 13th. Now, listen, this is a tremendously wonderfully written document, complaint, which documents the specific violation of the professional conduct, fairness to opposing party and counsel. I'm just reading some of the things that you say here. New York State, making false statements about myself. I'm just reading through here. Shall be faithful to the law and maintain professional competence. Now, you're not saying that people need to have a law degree here and be able to, right.
You just got to be able to write out what happened in the case, and then if you go online, when you want to go Google, you go to Google and you put in how to file a complaint on a New York State judge, how to file a complaint on a New York State prosecutor, or even how to file a complaint on an attorney that took your money, okay? And it will take you to the site to put and file these complaints. The problem is many people are not doing it, and because they don't know. And if you don't know how to file it or you're scared, call me, because I will turn around and I will help you with it. And I'll even send you my complaint so you can use it as a template so you can know how to write it. And I'm actually, once this the courts start investigating the judge, I'm going to, after they're finished, I'm going to post up my complaint as a guide for other people to use on my website at Black Ops Private Investigators so that other people can know how to write it. And again, if you need help, call me, call Jim Vrettos. We'll definitely help you because the bottom line is we need to start holding these prosecutors and especially the judges. They're the most powerful ones. They're the most important ones because they're the ones supposed to ensure fairness. The bottom line is I'm finding about 35% of them are not doing that. And this is throughout the state. But the most corrupt, the most evil, malicious judicial system that I found in New York State, you're not going to believe this, is in Queens.
Queens. And Bronx, right?
Huh? No, actually, the Queens is number one. Then the number two, it would be Buffalo, New York. And then the second one is Syracuse. And then the third is the Bronx and Brooklyn. But Queens is number one in the state. Fourth would be Nassau and Suffolk. And the reason why I say that is because I've had so many cases throughout the state that I've been able now to make an assessment of which have been the worst. And it's appalling what they'll do. You know, the Queens judges, they've had other, and especially Holder, Judge Kenneth Holder, they'll turn around and try to make a private investigator look like a liar or try to make it look like he falsified evidence and stuff. These are the tactics they try to do to people. They try to do it to me and they try to do it to other investigators to try to win a case. In the case of a giant nail.
I think it'd be helpful for our audience to hear some of the things they tried to pin on you.
Yeah, well, like for example, when they try to say that the witness was tampered with, that I tampered with the witness. Now, one thing I do when I speak to everybody, I take video recordings. Why? Because it protects me. Two, I get an affidavit. And even that, I go one to add another layer of legitimacy to my investigation. I turn around and I'll go to a news reporter and say, hey, Sarah Wallace from NBC, are you interested in the story? And 90% of the time she says yes. Mm-hmm. And she'll interview and investigate the person as well. So now I got the person giving me a video statement, an affidavit, and a television interview stating their statement, which shows that their statement was given of their own free will. But the judges will turn around with the prosecutor and try to twist it on you and say, well, you might have done something wrong. This is what happened in the Jaya case. They try to do that to me.
Right, and Sarah Sarah Wallace, who was in the courtroom, who wanted to testify, wasn't allowed to by Holder. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Because I said on the record when I was in the court that I said she gave her a statement of her own free will, and when she gave her statement, Sarah Wallace recorded her saying it, and had permission from the witness to air her story on NBC News, which it was aired on it. When I said to the judge, I said, Judge, she's lying. I have proof that she lied. She said she never knew that her story was going to be on the news. And there's a video of her showing her to okaying for her story to be on the news and what she said. Mm-hmm. The judge would not let that into evidence because it would show that she committed perjury, and then they would have lost the whole case because that was their star witness.
So, Manny, next week on our show here, we're going to have Ellis Lopez.
I would love to speak with her.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can get you in on that as well, and or at a later show. But again, she is running in the 15th congressional district, yep. And we've had Anthony Miranda on. You've been on with.
Well, that's the good thing about your show. The guy, the candidate for Anthony Miranda, you had on, he's running for Queens Borough President. And if he becomes Queens Borough President, he is going to help make changes within the judicial system in Queens. And that's something that Queens really needs because Miranda is not for the status quo. And
I wanted to get you to comment on the role politicians can play in this transformation, and Miranda is one of the few, and I think Ellis is too.
I think she could be too. I hope.
Right. So the politicians play a role here, as well as people like yourselves and the media.
Well, yeah, but and again, that's why we have to get out there and vote and get involved, because if we don't, we're not gonna have a voice. And the system's going to continue to stay corrupt. Frank Serpico's talked about this in the 70s, and that's what, almost 40 years ago.
Right.
What happened? Nothing. Nothing has changed since then. I mean, the corruption is still here. It's actually more powerful now than it was, back in the 70s. And people are getting away with it. So they have it down to a science, Jim, to a science. And that's why we have to file these complaints. We have to get on top of these prosecutors. People, if you need to know, you're right. And if you don't know it, call me, call Radical Manic Nation, watch the show, because the information we're giving is crucial. And I want to take one other moment. I just want to ask everybody, if you can go get a pen and paper, please get up the room, get a pen and paper, and write down this number, 646-386-4800. Again, that's the number to the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. You have a problem with a judge, file a complaint. And if you don't know how and you're scared to do it, call me and I will show you. My number is 347-867-6242. That's my personal number for New York, okay? But I want everybody to know how to defend themselves, Jim. We need to. And I thank you for taking this time. I hope Ellis, I forget how you say her whole name, Ellis Lopez, who's running for Congresswoman in the Bronx. I hope she's going to consider working together on this legislation. Because of I wrote the Department of Civilian Justice and collaborated with Frank Serpico. I've been inspired to now write new legislation that's going to bring rules and a new agency to extend the powers of the new bill for the Department of Civilian Justice to include judges. Because we need to have, again, like I said, a system where our judges are accountable. And currently it's not there. We can file a complaint, but
we got still a few more. It sounds like you have someone in the audience there who's also telling us to file these complaints. I think that's a cat, right? That we.
Unfortunately, I closed the window and I keep getting this cat outside. I don't know what's going on.
The cat is upset also about the criminal justice system too, and it's telling people, "Come on now." And that's an important point. Listen, the audience, our audience here, you people have to be part of this. Don't be afraid of this. We gotta stand up for your rights on this. And it doesn't take that many to get this going.
No, it doesn't. You're right. And we need to, and I hope they listen to you. I really do, because, we have so many, I get so many mothers calling me crying. People think because we have this pandemic going on right now, crime has stopped. That's wrong. Crime is on the rise. Crime is up. We've released over 2,000 prisoners from Rikers Island into the streets where there's no job, no food, no place. What are they going back to? Going back to crime. Robberies right now, auto theft is up 300%. 300%. Listen to that.
You're referring to where now? Or in the city?
New York City. It's all 5 boroughs. All right. And not only that, and I'm not going to blame the cops, but I've seen a lot of cops in the street. They won't get out their cars. I mean, you even notice now people are not even getting parking tickets because they're scared to give parking tickets. I'm out there in the street working these cases, and I'm in the dark, out there on sometimes ghost town streets. And you know what? I don't see the police getting out their car, stopping this crime, and crime is going up. Robberies have gone up 300%. Auto theft has gone up 300%. And let me tell you what else has gone up, okay? And that is stabbings, and also killings are on the rise statewide. But nobody's talking about this. And this is what's going on because we're releasing our prisoners into public without proper medical attention. And then we have all these victims being victimized by our judicial system. So you got so much corruption and misconduct going on. I hope Ellis Lopez hears this and works with me on this, because her jurisdiction she's running for, that's my territory. I cover all that. Most of her constituents, her and Caban, and I forget the other one.
Alexander Ocasio-Cortez too.
Congressman Cortez's district she's I cover all of that, and the problem is that nobody is doing nothing. So I'm hoping that I could work with her on a new congressional bill, which I'm starting to draft now, to bring
The Department of Civil Justice bill
But,
you're talking about, right?
well, no, I'm talking about another section of the law changing it that's going to bring penalties and fire judges. A lot of, and then that we don't have. We need to have a review committee review the performance of the judges. Judge Kenneth Holder has more than 24 cases since, and I wrote it down, since 2008. More than 24 of his cases have been overturned by the appellate court, all right? And for rulings of him saying, well, this arrest evidence is good and these lineups are good. And he turned out to be 100% wrong. So his cases got overturned. Why are we still keeping judges on the bench who are making wrongful rulings? Trying to, go ahead.
No, explain to the audience a little about how judges get put up there.
Well, there's two ways to be put up there. One, you can get appointed, but you get appointed
by who? By the
okay?
machine, right?
Yep. And then the other way is that you're elected by the people of New York. So that means the judge will put his name up on a ballot, and then, you know, when the voting time comes, you'll select and see if you want to vote for that person to be a judge. And so those are the two ways: you're appointed, or the third way is that the president appoints you. All right. And so these three ways, we have control over way number one, which is we have to vote for them. Be careful on who you vote for. You better know what he's about. Okay. And people are not doing it. They're just pulling the handle. Don't do that. I mean, granted, I'm a Democrat. Sometimes I vote Republican. Sometimes I vote liberal. Sometimes, you know, I vote other ways. But the reason why is I vote for who I think is going to be best for our people. Not just don't vote down the line. Know who you're voting for. Okay. And this is why we need to get involved. And this is why I'm glad and honored to come on a show like The Radical Imagination.
Listen, we're so honored to have you. You're on the cutting edge, and it's so important. So this new, you're drafting a mission statement, a proposal?
No, I'm drafting a new piece of legislation now, which is going to bring oversight over the rules of legality and over judge rulings to be able to monitor them to see if they're acting improperly. So this is going to be a commission now, which I'm trying to write now into law. And Judge Holder and Judge Barrett from the Bronx and Judge Michael Louise are my inspirations. These are three judges who have acted so corruptly. And it's just been, you know, it's made me realize, what do you do? When I ask the lawyers, what do you do? You know what they tell me? The lawyers tell me this: we will not write a complaint because they don't want problems. We won't write a complaint because they don't want to burn any bridges. People, we must burn the bridges.
Come before the judge again. So everyone just wants to get their paycheck, get the ship rolling, and keep it going, and that's it. Whenever misconduct and unethical behavior is going on,
you're right, and that's the problem. Everybody just wants to move on, get an easy paycheck, and keep it moving. And that's why people say to me, well, you know, why do you take on these cases that are so hard? Why do you take on the cases that drain me? Because I'll tell you, this is a Dry Neal case. I mean, I got threatened to be locked up by the judge. I was in the court testifying, and I told the judge,
what'd you tell me?
This proceeding is corrupt. The prosecutor's corrupt. This whole shambles is corrupt. This man is innocent. You know, the judge says, I'm going to hold you in contempt. I looked at him, I turned around, looked him right in the eye, and I said to him, do what you got to do. But I'm not going to stop saying the truth until they stop being corrupt.
I'm thinking of the Chicago 8 trial, you know, back in '68 there, where
Jesus.
they literally, I don't know if you remember that one or no.
I saw it on the
was shackled and gagged. So
yep.
They had a tough time doing that with you, but
yeah, well, we almost did in the court that time. But I will say one thing, and I want everybody to know, even though all this corruption happened, even all this chaos and the DA lying and the judge looking the other way and favoring the prosecutor, the judge stopped every piece of evidence that could prove Giannino innocent from coming into court. And you know what happened? The most beautiful thing.
He was innocent.
He was proven innocent by a jury. And you want to hear the crazy thing?
Yeah.
He had no evidence. Not one shred of evidence was that I found proving that man innocent was led into court. I shouted in court 8 times he is innocent while I was on the stand. I shouted to the point that the judge wanted to hold me in contempt. And I said, Your Honor, my evidence proves that he's innocent. I bet my license. I'm standing here betting my life that that man is innocent. And do you know what the jury did? They found him innocent. And that's why I think it's powerful that we all take the time and really go to jury duty and really listen to the facts. Just don't go on jury duty and decide, he's guilty. Look at all the facts before you make a determination. Please, people, get involved. We have to put up our sleeves, knuckle up, make a fist, and get involved.
So exactly, that's what that's been one of the big messages of this show, that everyday people have to take their democracy and their justice system seriously.
Well, the greatest gift we have is the ability to judge, have a jury of our peers. Remember, it lies in our hands to provide justice, everyone. Let me say that again. It lies in our hands to provide justice. Everyone go out there, be fair. Make sure you provide the justice. Don't say, the hell with jury duty, because you never know when it's going to be your mother, your daughter, your son, or your cousin, or your friend.
And you've been very modest on this, Manny, but I mean, you've served this country. You put your life on the line, and you put your life on the line over and over again, defending people who are innocent here. And you were,
thank you.
What, in Afghanistan?
I was in. Well, I'm a 3-time veteran. I fought in Desert Storm in 1990. I fought in Africa in '94. I have also fought in Afghanistan 4 times. So. I've been around the block. I was an 18th Airborne counterintelligence officer with the 7th Special Forces, and now
you're given the highest. You've been given the highest security clearance.
Yes,
correct?
Yes, by the nation, I was given the highest security clearance and also authorization to carry weapons around the world and to do governmental work. And still, I come back home, and now I offer these services to the people and to the poor people and to everyone. But, it's just difficult to see that the oath I swore to, the Constitution that I swore to defend, these people are laughing at it. The prosecutors and judges, it's like a joke to them. And that's why I wrote that letter against Judge Holder, because I kept asking, how do you report a corrupt judge? How do you report a corrupt district attorney? And then I said, I have all the evidence proving 100% that he lied. On 3 different hearings, the judge lied. So I said, how do you do that? And I had to research it, and I found that letter that you're holding. That's when I said, how come nobody else knows?
And it's a 12-page document here. Okay, grievance complaint.
Can you hold it up and show them?
Right here. It actually exists.
Well, I'm talking about the other complaint form.
I'll do that too.
Yeah.
And we only get a few more minutes, but where is this going now? What is going to happen to this?
Well, right now, that complaint I filed is in front of the Judicial Committee, and then they'll investigate the matter. I gave all the evidence and exhibits, and then they look into the judge, and then they can either 3 things. They can either censure him, they could either fine him and suspend him, or they could terminate him.
And how long is this going to take before something comes down on this guy?
Well, I would say if it was a normal time and we didn't have this coronavirus, I would say it would be maybe a couple of months, 2 months, 3 months before I would hear something. But now, because of all of this and the judicial system has been kind of put on pause, I could say it could take 3 to 6 months minimum,
Are you cautiously optimistic?
To be honest with you, and I know I shouldn't be this optimistic, but I feel 100% that when a judge sees this letter and sees the evidence that I presented, that they will find him and they will terminate him and suspend him, okay? And the reason why I can say that, that's one letter. But if you read the beginning of the letter, he has another case going on right now with the same prosecutor, Rion versus Taylor, that he's being sued in federal court for similar corrupt activities. And then the fact that he has 24 of the cases that were reversed for the same kind of behavior, they're going to have to pay attention. It's not me now. It's not just one person. I'm showing a systemic pattern.
Well, This is going to air for a lot of people as well. We're going to get some Ellis on the case as well. We're going to.
I would love that. I would love her to deal with the Bronx. The Bronx is horrendous.
Absolutely.
And that's what we do.
In the couple minutes that we have, let's one more time.
Sure.
How do people reach you?
Well, if you want help, please call me at 347-867-6242. Again, that's 347-867-6242. Or you can go online and go to Black Ops Private Investigators.
Okay.
Black Ops Private Investigators. And call me. Doesn't matter what time. That's my cell number. If my phone's busy, leave a message, and I will get back to you if you need help.
We know that. You don't sleep.
Oh, oh my God.
And
I go about 3 hours a day.
Oh, that's a lot for you. And plus, the cat is there now, so it's maybe an hour and a half.
Well, you know what? The cat left. Somebody must have killed it because it's been by my window knowing what's going on.
So the hour you sleep from 3 to 4, don't call Manny. Any other time is fine. All right.
Unless it's an emergency. And if it is an emergency, text me 911 and I will respond. But everybody, I want you to continue watching The Radical Imagination.
Thank you,
because it puts out information that we all need to know. And a show like this, I thank Jim, I thank Freddie, I thank the Manhattan Network for having a show like this that could bring information to people and empower you and stop the victimization process. We're empowering you. And I thank Jim Vrettos for giving that.
We couldn't do this sort of show without people like you. So last point, again, the complaint form, New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. There it is. And again, all you need to do is write down this number, 646-386-4800. 646-386-4800.
And call that number. They'll send you the form. You can go online and then mail it in.
Absolutely.
You really need to
do that, people. Take back our democracy. Take back our country.
Amen.
Manny, when are we going to get together here?
Well, I'm hoping to get together with that candidate for Congress for some Ellis.
Okay.
Some work and really put some new changes, some radical change into our system.
Absolutely.
So we can improve the rights. Again, I thank the Radical Imagination, the Manhattan Neighborhood Network for being such a cutting edge show and letting people know how to help themselves.
All right. Thank you so much again, Manny. Go take care of the cat. We're going to take care of these judges, the whole criminal justice, with you on the beat here, and people in our audience. We're gonna do this. Okay. So
stay safe.
Be safe. Be well. Talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you again for watching The Radical Imagination. We'll see you again next week. Jim Vrettos saying, stay safe, stay well, and be strong.
We're doing a request now. We're doing the things that we think will please you the most, at least for the next 4 minutes. As you know, the Animals had a hit with this tune. Baby, you understand me now. If sometimes you see that I'm mad, no one can always be an angel. When everything goes wrong, you see some bad. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Don't let me be misunderstood. Don't let me be misunderstood. 'Cause if I misunderstood, all my life would have been in vain. And Lord knows I don't want to come here again. So don't let me be misunderstood. a clear mind.